Hello family, welcome to yet another video. My name is Rudairo. If you are new here, this channel is essentially about me showing my life, how I navigate life as a person with a disability. If you are a returning subscriber, I see you, I appreciate you. Thank you. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about how God blessed me with a car when I was broke, newly paralyzed, and unemployed. So if you haven't watched my intro video, I am paralyzed. I got into a car accident in 2014, and that car accident left me paralyzed, and so I use a wheelchair. So after the accident, I realized that I would need a car, but I didn't have any means of getting a car. And because I was working as a cashier at the time of my injury, it meant that I couldn't go back to that job. So I found myself jobless and in need of a car. And also at that time in my family, I was the only person who was working. So you can imagine how finances were tight and how just having a car was a pipe dream, something that we couldn't even begin to dream of, because the only source of income in the household had been lost. I wasn't working anymore. And this was a household of 7 people. And we were all relying now on my mother's pension money. And where was the money for the car going to come from? But I believe that God planted that desire in my heart for a car. So there's that verse, Psalm 37 verse 4, if I'm not mistaken, which says that delight yourself in the Lord and He will give you the desires of your heart. I believe that the verse means that God will place the desire in your heart. And once He has placed the desire, it makes you be ready for the thing that you want before you have it. And also, if it's a desire that has been placed in your heart by God, then it's in alignment with what God wants for you. But without the desire, then if the opportunity comes, you won't be able to grab the opportunity because the desire isn't there in your heart. So firstly, God places the desire in your heart, and then He's the one who then feeds that desire or ensures that that desire is fulfilled. So why did I want a car? Before I got into a car accident, I had known this guy. I still know him up to today, who also uses a wheelchair. We went to church together when we were young, and he's still there even up to now. And prior to my having a car accident, I would see him at the bus stop. And every time I would get to the bus stop and get a lift and leave him there. So I never knew how he ended up leaving the bus stop, how he ended up getting into town. So I always, I never really thought about it then. But after my car accident, I was really scared. I thought that was going to be my fate. That's going to be my life. I'm going to be at the bus stop in a wheelchair and no one would want to give me a lift. And it scared me. I even cried to my mom. I told her, Mom, do you know that that guy, I always leave him at the bus stop because no one wants to give him a lift because he has a wheelchair and he needs space for this wheelchair, and then people also just don't want to help him to get into the car. And I thought that was going to be my life. My mom, just like any mother would do, was very comforting. She said, no, don't worry, my baby. I'm still alive, and so long I'm still alive, we'll figure a way out. That will not be your life. But she was just saying that because that's what was expected of her. She didn't have any plan. We didn't even have any money. We were at that point relying on help from the relatives. And luckily, I was still earning money whilst I was in hospital. So my company said they were going to pay me for at least 6 months. For 6 months, and then after that, they would then stop paying me. So I calculated that by the time I leave the hospital, I would have at least $1,800, which wasn't enough for a car. But because I wanted a car so badly, I thought, no, I'll make it work. I would just get even a beat down car, so long if it can move, then it can just take me from point A to B. That was because I had no experience of owning a car. If I had ended up getting that car, then I was going to regret it. It was going to cause me more problems rather than being helpful to me. So I just had the dream I needed a car. And then I ended up leaving the hospital. And we were using that money from the 1.8 by this time because we needed money at home. We had expenses that needed to be taken care of. We had needs. So the money ended up being finished. So we were back to square zero, but I needed a car. And also, I forgot to say this. Whilst I was in hospital, I would just tell people that, no, I need to buy a car. And so I told this to one of my brothers. He's my cousin, but he's my brother. I call him my brother. I told him I need to buy a car, even if it's a bit down one. I'll just buy a car so long it's a car and it can take me from point A to B. And he was actually welcoming of the thought, but he told me, no, you can't buy an old car that's beat down because it will give you problems. But he wasn't judgmental about it. And then I remember telling one of my gogos, you know, I was like, Gogo, I think I'm just going to buy a car. That's the only plan I have. And in hindsight, later on, when I actually had the car, she told me that she felt pity for me when I said that because she didn't see it happening. You know. But I just had childlike faith. I thought, I'm going to get a car. I need a car. So, as I said, God had planted the desire in my heart because He knew He was going to make a way for me to find the money. So there was a payout that came my way after being released from hospital. I think it was about 8 months or so after the car accident, and it was a payout of $4,800. I think it was from an insurance company or whatever they call those companies, you know, that was being paid by my previous employer, you know, and it was supposed to benefit workers who found themselves in a situation similar to mine. So that payout came and it was $4,800. Woo! It was just enough for us to get a car. So I then engaged my uncle. I call him Dad, but yes, and I'm going to call him Dad going forward. So I engaged him. I told him, Dad, I need to buy a car. Can you please assist me? And he started to assist me with the be-forward processes, you know, choosing a car and stuff. And he advised me, no, don't buy a small car, a Honda Fit that you want. Why don't you buy a 7-seater? Because at home you're 7. You need to go places together as a family. Buy a big car, which was actually the ideal car for us. So we chose a car, a 7-seater, and I did the Zimra duty exemption application, and I was successful and I was granted the duty exemption on the basis of disability. And so the money was enough for the car. But then after we had paid for the car, we had paid for it to be shipped from Japan to Tanzania and even to Zambia. We had paid for almost everything. We were short of $200. And my dad, who was helping me with the whole process, asked us, hey, can you send $200? You know, we need it for this. And we no longer had the money. And we just told him that and was like, okay, it's fine. And he solved it. I think he ended up just paying that money. And then when the car finally reached Harare, he received the car. And then I think he actually went to get the car with some other guys. And they brought the car. And it needed to be registered. Mind you, we no longer had any money. And he didn't even ask us for money to register the car. He did the registration for the number plates on the car, and he delivered the car with the number plates already put on the car, you know. And so I believe it was God who gave me the desire for a car, so that when I found the money, $4,800, I didn't even think twice. It was going towards the car. If I didn't have that desire in my heart, then maybe we would have used the money maybe to purchase household furniture, you know, for home improvements and stuff like that, or even to buy food. But we didn't do that. We just, you know, used the money for the car. And I believe it was all God. He knew I was going to get the money. So He planted the desire in my heart and He gave me the money and I got the car. And after having the car, I needed fuel. I needed to pay insurance. I needed to pay Zinara tariffs. I needed to pay, you know, for the car to be serviced. But I was unemployed. There was no one employed at home. But God had a way I found myself finding different ways to be able to maintain the car throughout the years when I was yet to be employed. And if I didn't have that car, one, I wouldn't have been able to go to university, and I wouldn't have been able to even apply for a job, because I would have thought, how am I going to go to work? But the car has enabled me to have this life that I have, where I'm very much mobile, where I can just go to meet up with friends, where I can go to church, where I can go wherever I want. So I believe God knew that I was going to need a car, that I was going to be in this situation, and He created a way before I even got to the point where I needed the car. I believe even getting a job where I was working, He knew that this time was going to come where I was going to need things, and that job would be a stepping stone for me to get the things that I needed for my life to then be able to continue to function. So I want to encourage someone out there that God can do amazing things, that He can provide for you in ways that you can never imagine, that He knows what you need before you need it. And then He places the desire in your heart for that thing, and then He makes a way for you to get the thing. So be encouraged. That thing that you desire, so long as in alignment with God's plan and God's word, He's going to fulfill that desire, because He is the one who has placed the desire in your heart in the first place. If I didn't have a car, I wouldn't have been able to achieve everything that I have achieved over the years, because of not having a means to get around. Because, for example, soon after leaving rehabilitation, there were some hospital appointments I needed to go to, and I was relying on my aunt, I call her mom, to take me places. So she would have to come to my house from her house, which is more than 40 kilometers from my house, and then would have to go to an appointment, maybe a trial rehabilitation, which is more than 40 kilometers from my house, and then she would have to come and drop me back at home and then go to her house. Imagine how hectic that was. And also at some point, I had a cousin who was hiring a taxi for me to go to church with. It was to a church in town, and it would cost her $50 for me to go to town and back. That's something that isn't sustainable. But God knew my need before I had the need, and He prepared a way for me to be able to fulfill that need. And I'm very grateful. So I'm very thankful to God for His amazing ways, for everything that He has done for me, and for always knowing what I need before I need it. On that note, until next time, stay positive, family.